Hello guys, I'll give it another couple of minutes just to give everyone a chance to get in, and then we'll crack on. Hello Marianne, how are you? How's everyone else? Yeah, the last couple of weeks have been absolute torture, surely. Yeah, EU's been tricky. I had hoped that CPI might break it out of that range. The 4 hour and the daily are just a mess, so I was hoping we might see some clear intent after CPI, but no such luck. It's just moved back up into the range. So yeah, not ideal. That's why I think it's important to have a couple of pairs. I'm still sort of finding my way with GU, so I missed that trade Tomas took. But yeah, I think it's important to have two pairs because GU seems to be moving a bit cleaner. Hello, Mr. Ralph, you're welcome. So as usual this year, just mainly focus on the 4 hour and the M15, just a more aggressive style. Again, mainly focusing on just the market structures, playing demand, liquidity, etc. And yeah, let's see how it goes. So do a quick refresh on the 4 hour. So 4 hour is bearish. Again, is a bit like EU this week. It's not that our EU in the 4 hour for the last couple of weeks. It's not that convincing a break structure. Yes, we closed below, but didn't close below this week. So it's not that convincing. And then if you take that there as sort of the previous range, this pullback feels like it could be internal. So obviously I'm not calling it internal at the minute, I'm calling it swing, but it wouldn't be a massive surprise, particularly as you can see when we pull back following the break structure, we didn't mitigate the EQ. So it wouldn't be a massive surprise where we get a bullish break structure here and come up and mitigate something in the premium up here. But again, that's the 4 hour. We're coming into the extreme of the 4 hour leg. Obviously, a bit of liquidity there as well, which suggests that that could fuel higher prices. So a lower in the premium, the 4 hour, we're coming into 4 hour supply. You can see there's nothing massively clear unmitigated in that. I've sort of just taken that wick. But everything else was pretty much mitigated in the move down if you just follow the mitigations there. So wouldn't be a surprise if we sort of blew through all this and perhaps the 4 hour such bullish. So not completely discounting buys on the M15. And then obviously if we see something change in the M15, we can sort of understand if the M15 switches internal bearish or swing bearish, then we can say, right, we're in the premium of the 4 hour, 4 hours bearish. So we may be seeing the continuation of that 4 hour trend. So on the M15 then, yeah, M15 is bearish. So this is the swing high currently. You can see we had sweep liquidity and then a bullish IBOS. So as obviously the pullback, you can see the equals are even more pronounced there on the M15 than they are on the 4 hour. So yeah, happy to look for buys at this point, understanding that yes, this is protected, but on the 4 hour we have the equal highs. Yeah, basically there is a possibility that we can take out these highs and continue higher. So not completely discounting buys. So in terms of the internal ranges, obviously that's the most recent IBOS. I believe it took a loss here at the end of the session last week. In terms of risk entry within there, nothing massively. Obviously that there was very corrective price. I presume that was during, yeah, it was coming up to spread hours. Wouldn't be looking to trade that there. You can see there's like equal lows behind it. Lots of liquidity, that's going to be swept. So obviously if you had to put a risk entry anywhere, probably be down here. Somebody wrong too. But yeah, it did sweep a bit of liquidity within the pattern. Just there. It's not the most significant low, but it's there. Yeah, I wouldn't really leave a risk entry there, to be honest, just because we are sort of in the premium of the 4 hour. So I'm happy to keep buying, but I just don't really want to wait for price to come back there. And again, there's no inducement. So it's very possible that could be swapped, and there is equal highs behind. So let's play it on. Hang on a second, I'm transferring something to Matt. I better cancel it. That might be using up bandwidth. Hopefully a bit quicker now. So now we've had the bullish break of structure. So I knew that was possible. So M15 is bullish now. This is obviously our swing low. So that's the lowest point in the leg that caused the swing break structure. We've had a bearish M15 shock. Again, you could get super aggressive. That's also the demand that caused the break structure. So it is a pretty significant POI that failed. You could get very aggressive here and look for a sell just based off the M15 chalk to potentially play the pullback down in here. But yeah, it's a bit too aggressive for me. So play it on. So I don't know why it's going so slow. Just let me reset. FX replay. We'll be moving a bit better now. As you can see, this chalk did play out. Could whoever drew that on delete that, please? Hello? Could whoever drew that on delete that, please? Fairly, John, was that you that drew that on there? Could you delete that, please? Because you're ruining this for everyone else. And nobody knows what Trading Hub is. So if you could just delete your drawing, it would be very much appreciated. I can't see Charlie who, but I think Fairly John in the chat is trolling us. So I presume it's him. There we go. It's gone now on it. These Zoom links seem to be getting out somehow. Well, there's a clone Discord or whatever on it. So back to what we were doing. Sorry about that. Obviously this supply is held now from the shock. As I said, it was valid to look for an entry, anticipating the pullback following the bearish M15 shock, but I say just a bit too aggressive for me. But it does make sense that if you look at the larger internal, that we could sort of see a pullback down into this range. So yeah, now we have a bit more of an IBOS. It's a small internal structure, obviously, so could now look taking an entry here. Obviously, equal highs behind, which isn't ideal, but yeah, well, it's the first continuation of the pullback after the break structure. So it is slightly more aggressive. It's not the most significant structure, but it's very likely we could see the pullback following this. We have a protected internal high, so it's worth the risk. Let's check this. Yeah. And let's see. And smashed. Right, knew it was more aggressive on it, so all good. Now we have another IBOS. So this is where you have the choice. You can either, follow on the break structure. We can expect a pullback, but obviously we don't know when that pullback is going to happen. So you have two choices here. You can either sit in your hands, not look for buys, and sort of anticipate the pullback, or you can just keep following the order flow until it changes. So in this case, obvious place to enter is there. See, we swapped a bit of liquidity. No inducement, which isn't ideal, but yeah, let's just follow the order flow until it changes. Be more aggressive. In this case, it's only slightly more to cover the low, so it's pretty logical to do that. So yeah. Place order. Again, it's more aggressive to keep buying, but then POI doesn't have inducement, but follow the order flow until it changes. Yeah, and now another quick loss there, but now nothing ventured, nothing gained, and now we sort of have the more high probability framework because we wanted to play the sell after the wanted to play the pullback following the break structure on it, which now we have. So in terms of POIs in the range, obviously that one there, but generally with the M15, if there's an unmitigated extreme, I'm going to take it. Just obviously there. See, we have inducement in front of it. Swap liquidity as well. So again, very high probability framework. It's the first IBOS following the break structure, so it's likely the swing pullbacks playing out. Let's take a quick look at the 4 hour to see where we're sitting. Yeah, so I've had a 4 hour break structure as well. So makes sense if we look at our 4 hour swing range. Have this POI at the EQ. So very logical that price will pull back there. You can see it's swept liquidity as well. So yeah, makes a lot of sense to look for sells. You can see we have the 4 hour demand draw on the M15 as well. So if we can get in at the extreme and then target down to the 4 hour demand, it should be a good trade. As always, entry on the 0.25. $10 stop. 11 just to cover a bit more. And then yeah, there's another example where, as I was saying last week, you can use your fixed 5R, or in case like this here, like if we pull back in here, then it's logical that this low is going to go, so you can sort of push a bit further in those scenarios. So we'll try that there. I'll just play it on a bit to see if we get the low. Yeah, right now. Price just ranging around. Still valid, leaving entry in the extreme. Not ideal that price sort of chopping around here, not really doing on them, but we know based on the 4R that it's very likely going to come down as POI following the 4R brick structure. So dead on. Seem to have been tagged in during spread hours. So obviously you wouldn't have left that order open then, but yeah, and then another loss, but all good. It's perfectly logical there. It's first IBOS following the break structure, so it makes sense that we're going to target the EQ of the swing leg, which is obviously down here. So yeah, you're selling in the premium. Framework makes sense. That's exactly where you're sort of happy to take the aggressive entry. So now let's view this as swing structure. So again, this range is a mess. There's nowhere within there that really want to leave risk entry. You can see sort of equal lows there. Gap obviously mess things up big time, but even at that, yeah, no real interest in looking for a risk entry within that range. In terms of the 4R, we've had a 4R IBOS. Doesn't matter if there's a chalk needed to hit your target entry line. Chalk is sort of very low down the level of confidences compared to internal and swing structure. With the M15 risk entries, to be honest, I don't really consider chalks at all. It's pretty much just trying to trade from the strong, protected internal and swing legs. So I don't really pass much remarks on the M15 chalks. Obviously, if it's trading the confirmation entry strategy or on the M1, then that's a different story. But for this here, it's not really a consideration. For our, yeah, and it's a bit of a mess because of the gap, but that is the obvious sort of supply, not the cleanest or obvious demand, sorry. So let's just take a quick refresher in 4R. So pretty much smashed through that supply, still contained in the range. So possible we could see a pullback from here if you just take that as the whole range. But obviously a lot of bullish momentum. I'm not going to be trying to call that reversal on the M15. So let's just see what happens. Yeah, so we're getting a bit of a pullback, no bearish chalk running. You could view this as a, if you're just mapping the internal, that is sort of the obvious. Large internal, could use discretion and view that as a small internal. Again, when the chalk line is all the way down here, there's no chalk, no eyeball. You can just use a bit of discretion when you see price sort of start to make lower lows and lower highs. You can just sort of use a bit of discretion and follow the order flow. Yeah, could look for an entry on the extreme here. Again, no inducement, didn't sweep. Personally, I'd be waiting for a confirmation entry from here. So let's play it on. Yeah, didn't mitigate it on it. Got another boss. This one is better because swept liquidity. Yeah, you could look for an entry here. It's a tricky one. Extreme's already mitigated. There is the little sell to buy wicks. It's a tricky one to know where to enter. Situations like this here, it can be helpful just take the extreme, take the 0.25 of the extreme, and yeah, when there's no clear unmitigated candle, it can be a bit tricky. So just sort of banking that maybe price might come up and sweep these highs, sort of use it as inducement for the extreme. So place order. So let's see how this goes. See, ranging around through Asia. So yeah, just missed there. Slightly annoying. Obviously, we have all this liquidity here to target, so we may just come up and sweep this high and then run this. You know, that's clearly a character fallback, and then yeah, we'll see how it goes. So we'll leave the entry on here. Just this high might get swept and tag us in. Yeah, and that is another loss. Not a great start to the day, but again, made sense. If you take the swing range, you know, as you all say, the most important thing is the MTF narrative. Not ideal that we have mitigated the EQ. Just mitigated this range as well, so more aggressive in that sense. But yeah, had the 4 hour demand down here, so yeah, it made sense to keep selling. But another loss there. Now if you look for the continuation of the trend, because obviously now we've mitigated the EQ of the leg, probably the pullback's complete. So got an bullish IBOS, which is there now. Personally, the way I sort of view, whenever we get a bullish IBOS like that, I sort of prefer to then focus on the most recent ranges, which, see, we have this one here, got the close above. This one here. You can see all the demands are mitigated if we draw them on. Yeah, no, obviously swinging in terms of bullish at this point, so want to get involved. The only place that I could really see to enter would be on the 0.25 of that candle. But again, it's not really a massively clear range. It's already been mitigated, so I'll just play it on and see if anything clear sets up. So now Again, you could be aggressive here. Evelyn's aligned, which is exactly where it makes sense to be aggressive. Could just take the entry here. Again, depends how aggressive you want to be. Let's take the chance on it, as there's a pretty decent chance that the week high is going to be run at this point. Again, more aggressive, not a textbook setup by any stretch of the imagination, but you're just following the demand mitigations, swinging in turns bullish. It's during the London lull, so you know it's coming in New York, so there's going to be a decent uptick in volume. And there's obviously news. Would have been nice to know that, but another loss again, was more aggressive. I'm having an absolute nightmare here today, Charlie. So let's focus again on the most. So swap the swing low. Obviously not interested in anything at this point. We'll need a lot more development in the M15 before we take on them. And then that's our M15 break structure. So yeah, if we get an IBOS or a convincing sort of chalk here, then this is sort of a pretty clear framework to play the pullback following the break structure. Again, this is sort of my favorite scenario to get aggressive. This is where sort of, you know, have the large imbalance to fill following the news. So it's very likely that we're going to see a pullback. So just waiting to see, you know, just waiting for signs that demand's taking control. So let's play it on. So now we've got the close below here, obviously. So you have the option, you can keep selling at this point, or you can sort of anticipate the pullback. I know that following a sell off like this here, post news, in the vast majority of cases, price retraces that move pretty sharpish. So I'm personally happy enough just to wait for the bullish IBOS to potentially play the pullback. Right. Price just trickling down. Not interested in trading any of this, obviously. Not really significant enough on any of these pullbacks for me to view them as internal structure. I view that as pretty much just one leg down. So, yeah. Had a bullish chalk there. Not really significant enough for mitigated this M15 demand as well. It could be sufficient to be a catalyst for at least a pullback, but yeah, personally, I'm happy to wait for sort of clearer structure to form. Right now, we're starting to get the signs demand is holding following the chalk, which is obviously exactly what we want to see. Chalk was, of course, here. Another mini, small, call it a small IBOS, whatever you want to call it. Again, we've mitigated this demand. So signs here that at least in the most recent section of price that we've had a sort of shift with demand holding. So obviously at this point, I'm starting to get interested in buys. Another range here. So yeah, now I'm happy enough to take a chance on this. and cover the low just to be on the safe side. Yeah, and so this I'm sort of wary at this point of this range. Sort of that's the most recent significant range for me, that we sort of this one pushed down, and we may just pull back in here and then continue lower. But obviously we've decent risk to reward even up to there, so more than worth taking the chance on it. You've had the mitigated for M15 demand and then 4-hour demand. It's all good. This is a pretty messy range, so that might be used as inducement for below. Yeah. And another loss. It's a pretty bad advertisement. Right. Let's jump out to the 4-hour just to refresh where we are. So we're in the high again. You can see I had a 4-hour IBOS, but obviously we've mitigated the 4-hour demand at the take that as our swing leg. We've mitigated this demand and the discount. So completely logical to expect that we might see at least a decent pullback from that. Obviously, these ranges weren't that significant. And you can see, you know, the price action, it was during Asia, so the ranges are quite tight, but it did make sense that they would sort of keep sustaining. But yeah. So swept this high, no close above yet. So wouldn't consider that an IBOS, wouldn't really be looking for an entry at this point. Now, take this piece of price action here. This is the most, yes, we closed above here. That's a pretty significant pullback, so it is sort of pretty clear. M15 internal structure, pushed up, closed above. Everything within there is mitigated, so the obvious place to look for the entry is there. See, it's swept liquidity, just there's clearly a bit of a low there. It's not technically the candle broke the candle's previous candle's high, but you can see there is something there. So I'm happy enough. It's probably a sweep on a lower time frame. So it is something. I'm happy enough to factor that in. And then just get this here, right? Because obviously premium versus discount. So yeah, plenty of risk to reward up to the premium. Obviously, it's very likely the price is going to fill the majority of this gap. So now that we sort of got a slightly cleaner price action, hopefully now we might get a couple of winners to make up for the losers. Hopefully. That order place. No. Let's see. I know exactly what this is going to do before I even press play. No, sorry, I came lower on it. I thought it was going to rocket after sweeping me. But yeah, blood. Valid trade makes sense. Yeah, happy enough with it. So that is, let's hide that and get things clearer. Obviously I've mitigated the it was already mitigated, but we've come down and mitigated the extreme in this range. So yeah, possible we could still run this internal high. We've had a bullish chalk. Swept somewhat equal lows on the M15. So this is more of a M15 confirmation entry than a pure risk entry, but had the liquidation. Obviously, the PBL was here. So yeah, let's take the chance on this. Absolute torture me, this one. Yeah, and boss. Right, so where are we now? Technically, the internal is still bullish because this is the most recent IBOS. So this is the most recent internal low for me. We're in for our demand, we mitigated M15 demand. Makes sense to be looking for buys, but obviously just market price isn't ready to commit to itself. So let's see what happens. Swap the internal low. Could look to place an entry in the extreme, but again, let's just wait for more development at this stage. Wait for something super clear. We've basically been stuck in a range between the internal high, the internal low. Yes, we wick the internal low, but since 14th September to for 24 hours, basically stuck in a range. Yeah, just basically waiting for price to break out at this stage. So now swept. Classify that as our swing low. So obviously that's pretty significant M15 pullback. It's this down. Obviously swept swing low. We know, usually when we do get sort of deeper pullback, it's precipitated by a sweep of liquidity. So hopefully this could be it, and then hopefully we might get some nice buys off this. See, take the conservative PBL. It's there, so you don't want to see that fail. Yeah, let's see what happens. Right now we have something we can hopefully work with. I'm happy enough to call this an IBOS, as technically it's not a strong internal low, as it failed to cause price to close below swing low. But generally, whenever sort of price breaks out of range like that, I'm just happy to call it an IBOS, because again, it makes sense that once price breaks this high, that we're then going to see the swing pullback to mitigate the EQ and hopefully fill the imbalance. So see now. In terms of risk entry, obvious place is just take here. Just take that whole range. So again, this was technically, if you were to take that wick as the PBL, which if you're being aggressive, it is sort of the clear sell to buy that led to the sweep. You can see there's basically a PBL flip. So this is the like little demand range which took out the PBL and led to the IBOS. So that's the obvious place to place the entry. Entry's placed. So let's play it on, see what happens. Literally swerved by a micro pip. And let's leave the entry on to see if there's equal lows in front of us. So we'll make them down, sweep them. We possibly missed the boat at this stage. Yeah, no, so we can cancel that order. Again, just missed by a micro pip. Pretty typical of how this session has gone, but it is what it is. Now sort of we can start playing the most recent ranges. Just obviously down here is mitigated. Yeah, you just take the extreme now. See, took out that high, so it's pretty clean range, swap liquidity. See, this next range, pretty messy. Didn't sweep liquidity. No inducement. Because the obvious place to enter is here. But again, equal lows behind. It's just not really where to leave a risk entry, to be honest. Then obviously the internal has to switch bearish, or the small internal has to switch bearish to get back to the original entry. So I'll take it off as well. Sorry. Yeah, so very likely these ranges are going to be respected to run this high. So yeah, let's take a chance in this range anyway. I probably wouldn't take in the live market, but given the day that was in it, I'm definitely tilting, as Walker would say. Because in theory, these ranges should be respected until this weak internal high goes. So let's cover the low of the range in case it gets swept a bit. And 5-4. Okay, and there's just everything's lined up. Yes, the entry POI isn't the best, but it just makes sense to be aggressive. So wouldn't be leaving the order there at this stage. So again, at this point, when everything lined up, whenever we got this clear IBOS here, got the sweep. Sort of, I suppose the key lesson, the amount of losses I took over here, the key lesson is just waiting for price to show its hand, which, as we always know, when you get a decent pullback, you're going to get a sweep of liquidity to precipitate that. And there was no sweep of liquidity at all here, really. It was just sort of a very corrective move up. So this was all basically just building liquidity to be swept. And then obviously we're a bit unlucky. We just got swerved there on the rebuy micro pip. Could have maybe in hindsight been more aggressive here and just viewed that as a range forming and then looked to enter in the 0.25 there, but then there was equal lows there. So it was possible we might have got swept into our entry. And then no tag here, no tag here. Now we've got another IBOS. Personally, I'd be looking for a confirmation entry from this PY at this stage. So let's see if Alan sets up in the M15. So had this liquidation. So you could look at this as a potential confirmation entry. PBL is there. So yeah, if you get the chalk and PBL feel could get aggressive here, but obviously it could still continue lower from the PBL. Yeah, still no close below there, so another sweep liquidity. Now we've had, that's pretty clear. Decent amount of bullish momentum, bullish M15 chalk. So see, we swept there. Mitigated this range, did we? Yeah. So yeah, happy enough to take the chance here. Yeah, I think I might accidentally delete this recording. Right, so instead of this, I'll mitigate a PY down here. Price might come down and mitigate. Haven't mitigated the EQ of the haven't mitigated the EQ of the swing range yet, so it is logical that price going to continue higher. Because obviously that's the EQ there. We obviously have all this imbalance to fill, so yeah, we'll wait for a confirmation entry from here on out. As the internal, you could say small internal, you could say. Still no close below it, but yeah, you're right, Charlie. Yeah, the first week was so clean, but that's the way it goes. To be honest, I'm pretty tired today as well, so I'm probably not operating at 100% this week either, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, still favor longs, internal bullish, play the swing pullback, but wouldn't really leave a risk entry on that POI. Yeah, just a very messy piece of price action this, but not an area to really be aggressive with the risk entry. So that's the main lesson. But yeah, let's just keep playing it on and see what develops. So eventually tanked. Didn't mitigate the EQ of the swing leg. Didn't mitigate any of that imbalance, which if you track that in your test and whatever, it's very rare that an imbalance they got there isn't filled. And then didn't even mitigate the EQ of the leg. So yeah, just messy price action. September, end of September, middle of September. Don't know why. Usually they say September's a good month because kids are back to school, etc., and not as many people on holidays. But yeah, another M15 break structure on it. That's our swing high. And then yeah, had another swing break structure. Again, pretty aggressive sell off. Could look for a pullback. Let's put it on, see what forms. Mitigated this supply, which again it's not that significant, but could still continue lower. Could look for an aggressive entry there. You can see we had this sort of minor internal break structure, but then again, it's possible that this is only a pullback to mitigate that supply. So don't really fancy leaving a risk entry there, although having said that, no doubt it'll play out given how this video has gone. No, not this time. View that as a swing break structure or internal. Let's view it as internal. Pretty nice entry POI within this range. It's there. You can see it's unmitigated. It's almost perfect inducement in front of it. Yeah, if I was to play this range, that would be the zone that I'm going to take. Again, more aggressive because following the break structure, we can anticipate the pullback. So it's possible this high will go internal switch bullish and we'll see a pullback up to the premium. But again, it's valid to keep following the order flow until it changes. Right, so clearly coming back up with a lot of momentum there. Not going to leave that order on. With this bullish momentum, this could be the wonder if we mitigated on the 4 hour. Yeah, you can see we've swept the 4 hour low. So yeah, could see a decent pullback now on the M15. Obviously would ideally want to see this high go before looking for longs, but we have taken out this high, this range, so could get aggressive. Try and enter here. Yeah, it's much more aggressive because you're trading against the mitigation of this range, so it's entirely possible it's just pull back to mitigate this before continuing lower. So let's leave it and let's just wait for the IBOS before potentially looking for a long. Saved us from another loss there. That's 22nd September. Let's call it a day there, and I'll go through the chat, see if there's any questions that I missed. Is tiny IBOS stronger than chalk? I'd say yes in the majority of cases, but it also depends on the situation. But yeah, generally, the more significant the pullback, a chalk might just be an inside bar, whereas a tiny IBOS might be a more significant pullback. Use control and space bar with the red dot on one easier. Yeah, I'm not very technically proficient with FX replay. I'll have to learn. You can put on news on your top left. Yeah, I remember sort of after I got smashed, then I remember people saying that in the Discord that there's news now. But so I'll figure that out for next week. Self-care through this. Yeah, definitely gonna need a meditation session after this. Yeah, I'll figure out the news for the next time. That's okay. We don't know a random distribution of wins and losses. Yeah, that's it. I don't think I traded particularly well there on it. As I say, I'm pretty tired today, so wasn't at my best there, but and again, just that messy range over here probably would have been well enough just leaving it alone. The laugh when I drop that same laugh, I know I'm going mental. Yeah, that's definitely not a good laugh to be making when you're a trader. This is some very ugly PA, definitely. What was that, David? Couldn't hear you well. I'm not sure what point that was. When is Matt back? I thought he's only going to Dubai for 5 days. Yeah, he went to Dubai and then he went away again. He went to the Dominican Republic, so he's back tomorrow morning. Thankfully, I'm sure everyone will be glad to see him back. Yeah, no worries, Charlie. Wasn't that productive for any today. Not that much order to show, but it's good to see the bad times and the good times. What's PBL pullback liquidation? Thank you, Housam. Don't worry about today. We'll be doing it also. Thanks. No problem, Marianne. Thank you very much for the kind words. Fernando, thank you, David. This is what it is. Very good example of what trading is. That's it. Yeah. And then it's also a very good example of when you're in bad form, when you're not operating at peak mental capacity. It's a good idea to just take a day away from the charts, because when you're not there, it's very easy to just get caught up. That's good to know, Charlie. I'm glad I was able to help you with my pain today. Nacho, thank you. Kem, thank you. Mr. Raff, thanks. Got a lot. That's good. Yeah, obviously more tricky session than usual, but yeah, a lot. Hopefully some lessons to be learned in there, and hopefully the next time we do this will be better. Does anyone have any other questions before we go, or will we call it a day there? We'll call it a day there then, guys. Thanks very much for your time. Hopefully you took some value from that, and I will chat to you soon. Bye.